Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are diving into something really powerful, that is automating SolidWorks using C# and SolidWorks APIs. Whether you are a designer, engineer or developer, this tutorial will show you how you can simplify your workflow, automate repetitive tasks and save a ton of time. So let's get started. So first thing first, what is SolidWorks API? The SolidWorks API is a powerful tool that lets you automate tasks, control SolidWorks programmatically, and even create custom features using external programming languages. In this tutorial, we'll be focusing on how to set up and use C# to interact with SolidWorks. Before we start coding, we need to make sure that our development environment is set up correctly. So if you haven't already, follow the steps to get started. We will need Visual Studio. Right? So you need to have Visual Studio installed on your system. Right? The community version of Visual Studio will be perfect for this. So you also need to have SolidWorks installed on your computer because we will be automating it. So make sure it's up and running. So as you can see on my screen, I have SolidWorks 2022 installed on my system. How do I access the SolidWorks API references? So the first step is you can click on the help button here and you can click on API help and it will pop up the API help for you within SolidWorks. There is an online version of the API help also available. I'll put a link of this website in the description. In today's episode, we'll learn about how we can connect with SolidWorks using C# in a standalone application. So I'll start with a WPF project and we will try to connect with SolidWorks application. So it's a standalone application. So I'll name it standalone application. The .NET framework version is 4.6.1 and I will create this WPF application project. The first thing I will do is I will go to the app.xaml class and I will remove this line startup URI. This line is responsible to show the main window when you click on a start button when the application starts. So I have removed it. So I will have to put it somewhere. So what I will do, I'll go to app.xaml and I will override the method on startup. And here I can create a main window object and I can say main window.show. If I do this change and if I hit start, I should be able to see the main window. So far so good. In order to access the API, we will have to talk to SolidWorks, and for that we have to add some project references. So you will have to click on add references, and if you go to the COM section, we have type libraries, and when you installed SolidWorks also installed this library, SolidWorks 2022 type library. So we will have to refer this. Now that I have referred the SolidWorks library, I am now able to talk to SolidWorks. So let's go to main window XAML class, right? And here I want to add a button. Clicking on this button should connect my application with SolidWorks. So let me override the height and width value. So I want the height to be of 250 pixel and width to be 450 pixel. I will replace this grid with stack panel and I will add a button here. I want some margins on this button. The width of this button should be 200 and height should be 40. I want to name this button as connect and I want to bind it to a command. And what I will do, I will follow the MVVM architecture where I'll be creating the view model class for this view as well. And on that view model class, we will create one command, connect command, right? As of now, we don't have that class, but eventually we will create that class and we will have the connect command in that class. So here, label, and the content I will bind it with status variable that I'm going to create when I will create the view model class. I want to put some margin. I want the font size to be of 18 and I want to align the content to center. Okay, so I have my basic controls ready in this application where I have a button and a label. So let's move to the view model part. So as I said, we'll be following the MVVM architecture, and for that we need to have one view model for the main window view. So let's add a class here. Name it main window view model. Right. And I want this class to be public, and this class needs to inherit from a view model base class. Okay, now this view model base class will come from MVVM Lite library. So let me just find and install the latest version of MVVM Lite library. So Visual Studio will add all the necessary namespaces, right? And now I will inherit from this class. So by inheriting from this class, now I have some basic infrastructure code ready with me, which will allow me to use command bindings and property bindings. So I will need a private string first, and I will call it status, and I will need one command. Let's say public I command connect command get set. Yeah, and now just create a constructor with this, and obviously I want to just initialize these values here. So initially the status will be unknown, so I'll just type it unknown here, and I want to use new relay command here. The relay command should be coming from the MVVM library that we have referred, right? And we will create one method on connect command handler. Clicking control dot will generate a method for me. So the method is now generated. So clicking on this connect button will trigger this event handler. Right? So let's implement the actual core logic that we need in order to connect to SolidWorks. So the SolidWorks has a program ID. So the program ID for SolidWorks is SLDWorks.application, and then we will write a try catch block. The first thing I want to know is if there is any instance of SolidWorks running, then I want to connect to that instance. So I want to get the active object using this program ID. For that I have to use system.runtime.interop services, and we have Marshall class in that, which can give me an active object, right? And I will pass the program ID input to this method, and I will cast this as SolidWorks SLDWorks, right? So this SolidWorks namespace is coming from the DLL that we have referred. So let's have a public property first. So I'll use prof full, and what I want to do is I want to just create the string property public accessor for the property status, and it will return me underscore status, and if I set a value, then underscore status will be set with incoming value. After setting this, I have to raise the raise property change method. Now this property is coming from the base class that we are referring, view model base, right? And it will notify WPF to update the status variable. Let's say we were able to get the active object of SolidWorks, then I'll say connected to SolidWorks, which means the SolidWorks was running already and we were able to connect to that. Let's say for some reason we were not able to do so. So in the catch block, I'll write one more try block, and in that try block, I will try to find out the program type, right? So How do I get that? So system.type get type from prog id. So if I pass the programming id to this method, then it will give me the type from the prog id. Next thing I will do is I will use this type to create a new instance of SolidWorks, right? So for that I will write system.activator create instance from program type, yes, and I will have to cast that with SolidWorks interface. After doing that, we have to set the visibility of this application to true so that the instance is visible to all the users. After that, if that is successful, then I will update the status to created new SolidWorks instance. Here also I will write instance, and if something happens, then we will have to update that in the status variable. So here, yep, that means we failed to create new SolidWorks instance. Now we will go to app.xaml.cs, and what we need to do is we have to set the main window dot data context, and you have to initialize that main window vModel class here. Now the main window has a data context of main window vModel, and this is how the binding will work. So as of now I have the SolidWorks instance running. So let me just check whether I'm able to get the correct instance or not. So I'll start the application. I have initial status as unknown, and if I click connect, it says connected to SolidWorks instance because my SolidWorks instance was already running, right? Now I will close it, close this application again, and if I start this application now, so now I don't have any SolidWorks instance running on my machine. If I now click on connect button, it is doing something, and the SolidWorks window was launched by the WPF application, right? So if I close it and say connect, again the SolidWorks will be launched. So this is how the small application is working. So it is now able to connect to a already running instance of SolidWorks, or it can create a new instance of SolidWorks on its own. This is how you can connect with SolidWorks from a standalone application. In this case, it was an WPF application. So in the upcoming videos, we'll learn about how we can open parts, open assemblies, and how we can modify the dimensions of those parts or assemblies. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.